I never thought I'd be the guy writing this kind of story, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We met in college, had a pretty normal relationship, or at least I thought so. She was always a little sharp-tongued, quick to cut someone down if they didn't agree with her, but I figured that was just her personality. Still, she was smart, beautiful, and we seemed happy enough, until the past few months. It started with little things. She'd come home late from work more often than usual, claiming she had to stay late for project deadlines or client meetings. She'd be evasive when I asked who she was with or what she was doing. Sometimes she'd be on her phone, quickly hiding the screen or acting weird when I glanced her way. I thought maybe I was just paranoid or overthinking everything, but I couldn't shake this feeling that something was off. Then a few weeks ago, I noticed her phone kept vibrating at odd hours, and she was suddenly more secretive about her messages. I'd catch her deleting texts, even when she was in the middle of a conversation. I tried to ignore it, telling myself I was just imagining things, but my gut was screaming that I was missing something. One evening, I decided to do a little digging. I went through her phone when she was in the shower, and that's when I found it. There was a message thread, nothing explicit at first, just some flirty banter, but it was from a guy named Mark. The last message I saw was her telling him she'd see him later. That was the moment I knew I had a problem. My wife was cheating on me with someone from her support group. It's kind of ironic, honestly. She's the one who organized these groups for our community after the disaster we both survived. She always talked about how she wanted to help others, but that help apparently didn't include me. I felt my stomach drop. I couldn't believe she'd kept this from me for so long. And the fact that she was cheating with Mark, someone who was supposed to be just a fellow survivor just like me, but who she bonded with during those support meetings we put so much time into. That made it even worse. I mean, we went through hell together and she found comfort in someone else's arms. That's when the anger started to bubble up, mixed with the heartbreak. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face for months, act like everything was fine? I already knew I couldn't just brush it off. This wasn't just a fling or some careless mistake. This was betrayal on a whole other level. I had trusted her, invested years into this marriage, and she threw it all away for some guy she met in a support group. It made me sick. I was furious, yes, but also crushed. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, like all those nights wondering if she was hiding something finally paid off, but not in the way I ever wanted. I couldn't sleep that night, just lying there staring at the ceiling, thinking about what to do next. That's when I decided I needed to confront her. No more hiding, no more pretending I didn't know. I needed to hear her lie to my face, or better yet, tell me the truth. I knew she'd deny everything, probably call me paranoid, accuse me of not trusting her, but I didn't care anymore. I had to see her reaction to get it all out in the open. I wasn't going to let her keep playing me for a fool. So the next day, I set up a meeting, and I was ready to face whatever bullshit she'd throw at me. I called her that evening and told her I needed to talk, just the two of us, no distractions. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, part because I was angry, part because I was terrified of what she might say. When she showed up, she was her usual sharp-edged self, smirking like she already knew she was in control of the situation. I could tell she was trying to act innocent, but her eyes gave her away. They darted around, avoiding direct contact, and her posture was defensive. Without wasting time, I confronted her straight up. I told her I knew about the messages, about Mark, about the affair. I watched her face twist into this terrible, defensive expression. She scoffed at first, rolled her eyes, and said, "You're crazy, you're just paranoid, I've done nothing wrong." But I was having any of it. I pulled out my phone and played the messages I found, showed her the proof right there. Her face turned white for a second, then she snapped back at me. "You're blowing this all out of proportion. What, you think I'm just going to cheat on you for no reason? You're imagining things, Mike." That lie hit me like a punch. How could she say that with a straight face? I felt my fists clench. I told her I saw the way she acted, how she was secretive, hiding her phone, lying about where she was. I told her I wasn't stupid. I'd seen the way she looked at Mark, the way she responded to his texts, and I knew this wasn't some innocent friendship. Instead of admitting the truth, she started throwing blame back at me. She said I was neglectful, that I was working too much, that I didn't pay enough attention to her anymore. She called me clueless and jealous, like I was the one in the wrong here. I couldn't believe her. She's always been the bitchy type, sharp, sarcastic, full of excuses, and now she was trying to turn this around on me. I was furious. How dare she twist this around like I was the problem? And then she said the most infuriating thing. I don't know what you want me to say. Mark is just a friend. We've been through a lot together and he's been there for me after everything we went through. It's not like I cheated on you with some stranger. You're overreacting. I almost laughed at that one. He's been there for you, she said, like that somehow justified screwing him behind my back. Yeah, that's real comforting now, Lisa. I realized I wasn't going to get an apology or honesty from her. She was caught and she was trying to spin her way out of it. I told her to leave, that I needed some space and that I'd be thinking about everything. She stormed out, cursing and screaming, calling me paranoid and accusing me of being controlling. That's classic Lisa, blame everyone else when she's the one in the wrong. That night I couldn't sleep again. My mind kept racing. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. I'd trusted her with everything and she turned out to be a liar and a cheat. But what hit me hardest was the betrayal from someone who was supposed to be my partner, someone I shared my life with, who I thought understood me. Instead, she was sneaking around, lying, pretending to be something she's not. The shock was still wearing off, but the pain was very real. I knew I had a decision to make and it wasn't going to be easy. Still, I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I had to plan what to do next. The days that followed were a blur of emotion and planning. I couldn't let this go, not without some kind of payback. I needed her to understand that betrayal doesn't come free, especially when it's someone you trusted with your life. I started thinking about how to handle this, how to make her feel what I was feeling, humiliated, betrayed, and angry. I didn't want her just to walk out and think she got away with it. She needed to see the consequences of her actions, even if that meant taking a step she'd regret later. So, I decided to lay a trap. Not a stupid one, something calculated, something she wouldn't see coming. I knew she'd keep lying, trying to deny everything. I wanted her to realize that her secrets were no longer safe, that every move she made was being watched. I didn't want to just confront her again. I wanted to make her feel the full weight of what she'd done. I started by installing a few hidden cameras around the house. Nothing obvious, just small devices that I could monitor from my phone. I wanted to catch her in the act if she went back to Mark or if she was planning to meet him again. I also set up some fake messages, an old email account I created just for this purpose, that I could use to bait her into revealing herself. I sent some messages pretending to be someone interested in her, trying to get her to slip up to see if she'd respond. Honestly, I didn't expect her to be so quick to fall for it, but she did. Within a day, I noticed her messaging someone, who I later confirmed was Mark. The tone was flirtatious, full of suggestive comments and plans to meet. She was planning to see him again, probably that same night. It was perfect. It was proof that she was still actively cheating, no matter how much she tried to deny it. I was seething. I felt the rush of adrenaline, anger, betrayal, that sickening feeling that I'd been played for a fool for months. I kept watching her, waiting for the right moment. When she left that evening, I followed her. I made sure to stay far enough behind but close enough to see where she went. She ended up at Mark's apartment, and I sat in my car across the street, just watching as she went inside. I felt sick, but I also felt victorious. I had her red-handed. The next morning, I confronted her again, this time with all the evidence in hand. I threw the screenshots of her messages at her, played the recordings from the cameras, and told her I knew everything. Her face twisted. She looked furious, embarrassed, but mostly like she was trying to maintain her composure. She denied everything, said it was all a misunderstanding, that she was just venting or talking to a friend. But I wasn't buying it anymore. The proof was right there, clear as day. She started yelling, calling me paranoid, accusing me of spying on her, of invading her privacy. That was rich coming from her. She's the one sneaking around, lying to my face. I told her I was done playing games. I told her she was a bitch for doing this, for hurting me like this, for betraying everything we built. I told her she was lucky I hadn't kicked her out yet, but I was seriously considering it. The atmosphere in the house was thick with tension. She kept trying to deny, to manipulate, to turn it around on me. But I had all the evidence, and I wasn't going to let her rewrite the story anymore. I knew this was the beginning of the end, but I also knew I'd make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I had to see this through, no matter how much it hurt. That night I lay awake again, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what I'd do next. I felt betrayed, humiliated, but also strangely empowered. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not without a fight. My next move had to be careful, calculated, and ruthless. She'd see that she couldn't lie her way out of this one. I was done playing nice. The next few days were a whirlwind of planning and emotion. I knew I couldn't just confront her again like some emotional wreck. I had to be cold, calculated. I couldn't afford to let her see how much she'd hurt me. Not yet. She thought she'd played me, manipulated me with her lies, but I wanted to make sure she paid for what she did. I started to think about how I could turn everything around to make her realize she was the one who screwed up, not me. I reached out to a private investigator I knew from some old contacts. I don't normally believe in that kind of thing, but in this situation I needed hard proof, more than just her messy texts and my own observations. I wanted her to realize that her every move was being watched, recorded, used against her if needed. The investigator set up cameras outside her phone, tracked her whereabouts, and confirmed she was meeting Mark again. That was it. I had enough now. She was actively cheating, and she was lying right to my face, even as I'd been giving her the benefit of the doubt. One night I decided to bait her. I left my phone in the bedroom, loaded with a recording app I installed, just to catch her talking or maybe revealing something she didn't mean to. I also planted a small, hidden microphone near her when she was in the living room, just in case she slipped up. I knew she'd be nervous now. She was probably thinking I was just bluffing, but I had proof that I was. And sure enough, I caught her. The next day, I finally had the evidence I needed. I overheard her on the microphone, talking on the phone with someone, probably Mark, about where they'd meet again. She was planning to go out that evening, and her tone was full of excitement, like she was getting away with something. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of victory. I'd caught her red-handed, and she couldn't deny it anymore. The moment was perfect for my next move. I called her into the living room, told her I knew everything about her affair, her lies, her secret meetings. I played her recordings, showed her the evidence from the investigator. Her face was a mixture of rage, fear, and disbelief. She tried lying, saying it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything. She called Mark her friend, said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. But I didn't buy her bullshit anymore. I told her I wasn't going to be a patsy anymore, that this was the end of the line. I told her I was done with her games, her lies, her sneaking around. I told her I wasn't going to stay married to someone who thought she could cheat on me and get away with it. I asked her straight out, "Are you leaving, or do you want to stay and keep lying to my face?" Her response was just a sneer, but I saw the weakness in her eyes. She knew she'd been caught, and she didn't have a good answer. I told her to pack her things, that she was done living in my house, that I was done trusting her. She yelled, called me crazy, said I was ruining everything, but I didn't care. The moment she stepped out the door, I felt like I'd taken back control. I knew this was going to hurt like hell, but I also knew I'd finally taken a stand. That night, I sat alone in the quiet house. The emptiness was deafening, but it was also strangely freeing. I looked at the mess she left behind, the broken trust, the lies, the betrayal, and I realized something. I'd been stupid to think she ever cared about me. She was just using me, lying to me, cheating on me with some guy from her support group. And now she was gone, and I was left to pick up the pieces. But I also learned something important in all this. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. I understand now that I was naive to think she was different, that she was worth saving. She showed her true colors, and I can't fix that. Moving forward, I know I need to focus on myself. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let someone cheat, lie, and betray me like that again. I hope this story helps someone else see the signs before it's too late. After she left, I found myself sitting in the silence of the house, trying to process everything. It was like waking up from a bad dream, except the pain was real and there was no waking up from it. For days after, I felt numb, angry, and deeply betrayed. I kept going over everything in my head, how I missed the signs, how I trusted her, how she lied and manipulated right under my nose. It was a blow to my confidence I didn't see coming, and honestly, I felt like I'd been sucker punched in the gut. I reached out to a few friends I could trust, guys I knew from work, and some old buddies I hadn't talked to in years. I needed to tell someone what happened, get some perspective. It was hard, admitting I'd been blindsided so badly. The worst part was realizing how much I'd invested emotionally in her, only to find out she was unfaithful and selfish. That hit harder than anything. And the betrayal, especially coming from someone who was supposed to be my partner, left a bitter taste in my mouth. I kept asking myself how I missed all the warning signs and why I didn't see her true nature sooner. I also started to reflect on what I wanted next. I knew I couldn't stay in that house. I couldn't live with the ghost of what we used to have. So I rented a small place nearby, just a simple apartment where I could breathe and start over. I knew I needed time to heal and to figure out what I was going to do about the divorce, about moving on. I wasn't rushing into anything. This kind of trauma takes time. The interesting thing is that during this process, I discovered a part of myself I never really knew. I always thought I was just a regular guy, work, sports, hanging out with friends, but I found strength I didn't realize I had. I started going to the gym more regularly, focusing on my health and even talking to a counselor. Not because I was weak, but because I needed to process the betrayal, to understand how I could bounce back from this. Honestly, talking things out helped a lot. I told the story to the counselor, and each time I did, it felt like I was taking back some control, reclaiming my life from her manipulations. I also took some time to think about the lessons I learned. Mainly, trust is fragile and people can surprise you in the worst ways. I realized I was naive to think she was truly committed. I was blinded by the idea of what we had, and I ignored the warning signs, her evasiveness, her secretive texts, her excuses. Now I see clearly. If someone wants to cheat, no amount of love or patience will change that. You've got to be vigilant, protect yourself, and never ignore your instincts. Most importantly, I learned that revenge isn't always about doing something destructive. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply walking away and showing strength by not letting her destroy you. I refuse to be the guy who's broken and bitter forever, but I also refuse to pretend that this betrayal didn't happen. It's a part of me now, shaping who I'm going to be moving forward. I'll rebuild, I'll heal, and I'll come out stronger, better than I was before. So if you're reading this and going through something similar, let me tell you from experience. Don't be afraid to confront the truth, no matter how painful it is. Trust your gut, gather your proof if you need to, and don't let someone else's betrayal define you. You'll get through it, maybe not overnight, but eventually. And when you do, you'll realize that your strength was always there, waiting to be uncovered. Looking back now, I realize this experience changed me more than I thought possible. I used to think love and trust were just automatic, something you gave freely and expected to be reciprocated. Turns out, trust is earned and sometimes it's shattered in an instant. That betrayal hit me hard, but it also forced me to confront a lot about myself, about what I deserve and what I don't. I've come to see that her cheating was more about her own issues than anything I did. She was selfish, manipulative, and ultimately unworthy of the trust I once gave her. It's a harsh lesson, but one I needed to learn. I've learned to rely on myself more, to listen to my instincts, and to value honesty above all else. I won't settle for anything less moving forward. One thing I've realized is that revenge, in its true form, isn't about hurting someone else. It's about reclaiming your life and dignity. She thought she could break me, but she only made me stronger. I've cut out the toxicity, moved on, and now I focus on building a better future for myself. I've started dating. Again, cautiously, but with more awareness. I don't want to be naive again, but I do want to be open, just smarter about who I trust. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, all I can say is, don't let betrayal consume you. Take your time to grieve, to process, and to heal. Surround yourself with people who genuinely care. And most importantly, don't be afraid to let go of what's hurting you. Sometimes, the best way to punish someone who's wronged you is to walk away and live your best life without them. Now, I look at this chapter as a painful but necessary part of my growth. I don't harbor hatred or bitterness anymore. Instead, I choose to see it as a lesson, one about the importance of self-respect and never settling for less than you deserve. I've learned that no matter how much someone seems to care, their actions reveal their true nature. And if someone betrays you like she did, then they don't deserve a place in your life anymore. I'm not perfect and I still have scars, but I'm moving forward stronger and wiser. And honestly, I feel a strange sense of liberation in finally taking control of my life again. The pain will fade, memories will dull, and someday I'll look back and realize that this heartbreak was just the catalyst I needed to become a better version of myself. That's what I want everyone to know. Sometimes, the worst pain can lead to the greatest growth.